Before we start the interview, please tell us, why are you here in South Africa?
I'm here at the request and invitation of the Somali community in South Africa. Mm-hmm. Of course, as you know, we have a large Somali community, and we are really grateful the South African government and its people to welcome all Somalis after the civil war, because they don't have any other place to go. Mm-hmm. And they are very grateful, and I'm really grateful also this open welcome to the Somali in this time.
But you're not campaigning, are you?
No, of course I was invited to explore
yes.
what the Somali people really wants me to do.
Yes.
And of course to consult them and to talk to them and to get some advice as to how they see me as a future candidate or maybe president. But I haven't decided yet. Time will tell.
Wonderful. Now, last night, Somali police said that a suicide car bomb killed a number of soldiers guarding the presidential palace. What's your reaction to this?
Well, as you said, Al-Shabaab is a threat to the Somali government. I believe Al-Shabaab is not only a threat to Somalis, is a threat to neighboring countries and any peace-loving people on the world. And unless we face them and challenge them as a one front against Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda, I think they will have a place to hide, like Somalia, to take advantage of the power vacuum and dysfunctional government, and to organize themselves to attack wherever they want. Mm-hmm. So I believe this threat is a threat to the rest of the world. So they have been, of course, Somalia has been a victim all the time, killing innocent people by Al-Shabaab. And of course, they did the same thing to Kenya and many places as well. So it's a threat to the world.
Why is Al-Shabaab such a problem for your country, Somalia?
Two things. One thing is that Somalia has been dysfunctional, lack of central government. Or weak government, and probably that's why Al-Shabaab went to Somalia and find a safe haven where they can recruit and organize in order for them to attack everywhere else. That's number one. Number two, Somalia has been divided among clans line. And always Al-Shabaab wants a place that people are divided. Yes. So one of my mission, if I decide to run for president and elected, is to unite the Somali people and to also win the hearts and mind of the people, and in order to basically challenge them effectively.
Now, in order to challenge them, you need to know about Al-Shabaab. You need to have some research about them. So what is Al-Shabaab and where do they get their funding from?
I mean, that is the million-dollar question. I mean, they are surviving, even though they lost a lot of territories and major cities. Still, they're surviving. But what the government needs to do is to, of course, work closely with no division within the government. And, of course, unite with the Somali people in order to confront this menace, this threat. The military alone cannot solve Al-Shabaab problem. Sometimes you need a wisdom to divide them, to find the logic people, their voice of reasoning. I believe there are some people in Al-Shabaab who are with Al-Shabaab, not ideology, but economic opportunity. So you have to reach out those people in order Al-Shabaab to be divided. So that is one way also you can defeat them.
What kind of cross-border intelligence does Somalia have to trace even some of the money laundering or launderers that are linked to Al-Shabaab?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult because you have over 2 million Somali population outside of Somalia who support their families in Somalia, including for those who are here in South Africa. Yeah. They send in some money back home in order to support their families. It's very difficult to detect where the money is going, but without that money, without that financial support, you will see a lot of problem within Somalia because there's no jobs, there's no effective government. So the only sustainable support that Somali people have is from the diaspora.
And that support that we're talking about, do you get military support or even intelligence from your neighbors?
Of course, there's a collaboration and a cooperation between the neighboring countries. Also, AMISOM, the African Peacekeeping Forces in Somalia, who are effectively fighting against Al-Shabaab. But again, Al-Shabaab is like any insurgents. In order to win any insurgents, you have to have the support of the people. And that's what the government's shortcomings are.
Is there a relationship between Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram in Nigeria?
All extremism have some sort of relationship because they all answer to Al-Qaeda. And now we have ISIS, who's probably becoming a force, a powerful organization that wants to destroy civilization. So I believe this threat, you can only fight this type of threat when the rest of the world unites against them.
Their main goal, is that to also carve out a caliphate within Somalia?
Not only in Somalia, they wanted to go all over the world. One time they said even they wanted to go to Alaska, all the way to Alaska. So that is their vision. And unless we confront that crazy ideology, that's what they're thinking. They think that they can basically spread their ideology the rest of the world and change in their thinking, narrow thinking.
The damage so far, if you have to put that together, all the years that Al-Shabaab has been confronting Somalia, how much is, or what is that damage to, especially to ordinary Somalians?
Unbelievable. If you ask any Somalis, no one supports Al-Shabaab, but they have a reign of terror. They try to terrorize people in order to control. And somehow, if you don't have an effective government, their system may work because people need protection from a government, and if there's no government, there's no effective government that protects its people, then Al-Shabaab will fill in that gap.
Now, you were talking about divided authorities and systems that doesn't really work where Al-Shabaab and some of these extremists would take over. Now, for a long time, Somalia had no central authority.
That's correct.
What challenges has this lengthy war against Al-Shabaab and the vacuum that it posed to the current government?
Well, what you need to have a very strong leadership that's united government with the people. And that's the only way to defeat outsiders. I see Al-Shabaab is a foreign from Middle East as well as Asia, trying to impose their ideology on Africa, particularly Somalia, and anywhere they can find Muslims. Of course, they find a vacuum in Somalia in which they can do whatever they want to do. So what you need in Somalia is to have a very strong government, of course, with the support of international community, because this threat is not only limited to Somalia, it can spill over everywhere else.
But what's wrong with the current government then?
The current government has not successfully united with the people. They lost confidence with the population. And when you don't have confidence within the people, it's very hard to fight with Al-Shabaab, because in order to fight any insurgencies, you have to drive them. Their support, maybe that support may come from local. So if the local against any insurgencies, that insurgents cannot survive. So the government somehow not successfully win the hearts and the mind of the people.
Now, Prime Minister, in 2011, you resigned from your position as the Prime Minister. Why was that the case?
I did that because of the interest of the country. I have been away for Somalia for 27 years in the United States. And when I came into Somalia, I wanted to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And when I find that there is a conflict within the government, especially between the president and the speaker, and I thought maybe if they unite against me, I could fight because I had the support of the people. People demonstrate in my favor, in my support. I could fight and continue and linger that issue, that problem. But I decided to be the bigger man and step aside and for the good of the country.
Has things changed since your resignation?
To be honest with you, when I was in office, we challenged Al-Shabaab very effectively because we had the support of the people. Of course, we provided what the soldiers need and what civil service wanted in terms of their basic needs. That is basically boost the morale of the soldiers in order to fight this threat. After I left, Al-Shabaab became bold because government basically didn't see the importance of the people. And if you don't have the support of the people, it will be very difficult to fight Al-Shabaab. So I thought the main key is not to fight militarily, but to have the support of the people, so they cannot hide anywhere.
What role do you still play in Somali politics, if any?
Well, next year will be an election in 2016. Of course, I wanted to see one man, one vote, and that did not happen. Maybe there will be a different way of election, and I will evaluate how that election will be held and decide based on that.
Your relationship or diplomatic relations with South Africa as well as Ethiopia, your next door neighbors, how is that?
Well, I'm trying to reach out every country, particularly in African nations. Somalia cannot survive without the support of South Africa or other African countries. And I will try to reach out public officials and to see how they can be very helpful to their brothers and sisters in Somalia.
Do you believe that the African Union can do more to assist countries like yourselves, which find itself in the fight against insurgents?
Absolutely. We are really grateful. And many of them lost their lives. And my heart goes out and my prayers goes out to those families who lost family members in Somalia. They sacrificed, and we will never forget that. And, but also you have to build the Somali army in order to fight local insurgents. And that is what this government ignored.
The refugee crisis in the Mediterranean, what do you make of that?
And that's basically based because of Al-Shabaab. Because when you don't have peace and stability, people are living anywhere, finding a place to survive. So in order to stop that people dying in ocean, many of them are from Somalia, as you mentioned. You have to deal with the situation in Somalia and to bring peace and stability. So those people will stay home and find jobs and contribute to rebuild their country.
Let's look into our silver bowl this morning and look into the future, into our crystal bowl. If you do become the Prime Minister or the new President, what would be your dream and your aim for Somalia?
My aim is to unite my people and to establish national reconciliation in which people come together to rebuild their country, to rebuild the institutions which has been destroyed over the past 25 years during the Civil War, to rebuild the army in order to defeat this terrorism, and of course to establish a working relationship with African countries, particularly South Africa and Somali neighboring countries, and throughout the world. Of course, to bring investments in order the youth to find jobs in which they can support their families. So the list goes on and on and on. But first comes, I have to decide if I wanted to throw my hat in the ring and to run for president. And should I win, I think I can create impact.
And why do you think that could not have been achieved in your first term as the president?
I was in office for 8 months, and of course I have changed a lot. I will tell you that there was no a yearly budget before I became a prime minister. I established a yearly budget. Also, I brought a team of technocrats to be the cabinet members. Many of them are from overseas. Some of them are from Somalia, from the country. And of course, the most importantly is that we win the hearts and the mind of people because they see this new team of technocrats are doing whatever they're doing for the best interest for the country. Mm-hmm. So, of course, if I would have longer tenure, long time, I thought I could basically bring people together.
Your message to ordinary Somalians on the ground in Somalia as well as here in South Africa and of course in the diaspora?
I will tell them, do not lose hope. Mm-hmm. Somalia can become a great again. We have a lot of time to come. And if there's a right leadership, I believe Somalia can be a prosperous nation and peace and stability.
Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
That was the former Prime Minister of Somalia, Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed.